Good Tavach Shavua Tov, a good new week, a week of great blessings. And we should transform these days to the ultimate redemption. The Tuesday, we won't have to fast because the redemption, the Mashiach is here. So we continue in our mimer, in our Hasidic discourse. In Tzion b'mishpat tipadeh. Tzion, Zion, with mishpat, we'll see what mishpat means, judgment, if you will, or ruling, is redeemed, and its captives of Zion, of Tzion, are redeemed through charity. So, the term Tzion, Zion, is a reference to the Jewish people. There's one verse actually that says this, a verse in Isaiah that says, I will place my words in your mouth, and the shadow of my hand will cover you to plant the heavens and to make a foundation on earth. And saying, Letzion, I'm saying to Tzion, Amiata, my nation you are. My nation you are. And this is the one verse that refers to the Jewish people as Tzion, as Zion. Often it would be the land of Israel would be called that. So the Tzemach Tzedek explains that these three things that the verse says, that I will place in your mouth, my word, that refers to Torah, the word of God that's placed in our mouth, his teachings, therefore it's placed in our mouth, right? And particularly because it says mishpat, which means the judgment, means the halacha. In other words, the path of following the law of the Torah. So that's the first part of the verse. Second part of the verse, it says, with my hand I cover you to create a shade. That refers to Gemilas Chasadim, which is acts of loving kindness, which is generally the mitzvah, which a general term for mitzvahs. Whereas Torah, God places it in our mouth. It's like food, right? It becomes a part of us. Torah wisdom becomes God's wisdom, becomes our wisdom. His vision, his perspective becomes our vision and our perspective. It's within us. On the other hand, to create a shadow that God covers us, well, that's like clothing, right? A shadow isn't in you, it's over you. Clothes are not in you, they're over you. That refers to mitzvahs. Mitzvahs are done not inside of you, except for, of course, um, the awareness of and the feelings of, that's inside. But the act of the mitzvah itself, the fulfillment of the mitzvah is a physical act that's on us, but not in us. It's of us, but not in us, right? So tefillin, you wrap on you. Lulav and esrog, you're holding it, and so on. But it's the mitzvah itself and its fulfillment, aside from the intent of the mitzvah, aside from the awareness and feeling that you have, right? But the mitzvah itself is like clothing. It's upon you. So that's the metaphor of that God is covering us with his shade, with a shade is not in us, it's over us. And then we have the third part of the verse. It says to plant in the heavens, plant heaven, and to make a foundation on earth. And that is in reference to sacrifices. And today, that would be prayer. So we have over here the three things that the world stands on: Torah, Tefillah, and Tzedakah.
I put up some big plates. I don't know if you want them.
So we're just in the middle of learning? Yeah. Okay. So and the idea of prayer and offerings on the altar times the Holy Temple is called a yichud zun. It is a union between the male and female divine, which is sort of like heaven and earth. And therefore, you are planting and making a foundation. Okay, now, through the fulfillment of these three things, that's when the Jewish people are called Zion. So if you're a real Zionist, what are you going to do? You're going to study Torah, you're going to do mitzvahs, and you're going to pray. No, that's not what we just learned. Let's learn what we're learning. Right? That's what we just learned that's what the verse says in reference to the Jewish people who are called Zion. So when these are complete, what does it mean complete? When you study Torah in a way of what's called bittul, self-effacement. In other words, what does that mean, self-effacement? That that it's not just a wisdom you're studying. It's a sense of that this is the word of God that is being expressed in when you express it, when you learn it. There's a sense of this is the word of God. Just as we're learning now the fifth book, the book of Devarim, and in that book, Moshe is speaking first person. He's speaking first person because God is, and yet it's God speaking because God is speaking through his voice. So his voice is being expressed, but what is it? The word of God. It's a very lofty bittul, right? We were bringing yesterday, and so someone said, well, I'm of the opinion, so I smile and says, I don't know if you have the right to an opinion. You have a right to a thought, but an opinion? So I have a right to an opinion. I have a right to an opinion. Like, if you're a an expert in a field, then you can have an opinion in the field. If you're an expert about God, so you can have an opinion about God. Hmm. So, you know, we really don't we don't have an opinion. When you have an opinion, that's not bittul. That's not self-effacement. So you have a thought, you have an idea. Is that really the word of God? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe it's just your thoughts. And I try when I have my own idea that I'm expressing, so to bring it across that this is my thought, but an opinion, right? So here we're talking about someone who doesn't sense their opinion even. The bittul is so great, and yet they are someone who can have an opinion, like Moshe Rabbeinu, like Moses. God speaking through him, but is he feeling that it's his opinion? No, that's what he's feeling. He's feeling one thing, the word of God. But it's God, his word that's coming through Moshe, but it's not like, okay, I'm on the opinion. So that's called bittul. And that's what it means that I will place my words in your mouth. That the word of God is the word that you're speaking. So of course, we're speaking about a very high level over here of righteous people. Okay. Now the same thing comes when it comes to mitzvahs, also a bittul. What does that mean? See, when you're doing something, and it makes sense. It makes sense. You should feel yourself. You should feel, the experience of what you're doing or what you're engaged in. That makes sense. Bittul means that that's not what you feel. What you do feel is that you're being covered over by God. That it's God's mitzvah. Right. In other words, you're feeling a sense of the connection rather than the sense of your exaltedness. Oh, I feel so great doing this mitzvah. I feel so good doing this mitzvah. That's a sense of self, right? So you're not feeling that. All the more so when it comes to the path of Avodah. Avodah meaning divine service. Times the Holy Temple, that meant uh, that meant sacrifices on the altar. Today it means prayer. Now, what are you doing? You're actually planting in the heavens above, and you're making a firm foundation in this world. Meaning you're actually affecting and changing the I don't know what the word is. The hmm, you're changing. You're Something's growing and happening. Something is you're affecting heaven. You're creating a foundation on earth. That's pretty powerful. So one could get carried away with oneself and feel their virtue, feel their power, feel their, impact, which would be natural. The bittul would be that it's not about your impact. Not to say you shouldn't be making an impact. Of course, you're making an impact. That's what it means that you're planting in heaven and you're making a firm foundation on earth. But the bittul means it's not about you. So therefore, it's not about the experience that you're having. It's not about the feelings that you're having through this. Not to say that there isn't a feeling that you have, but that's not your focus. That's not your right. So what do we have here? Through the fulfillment of these three things in this manner, that's when the Jewish people are called Tzion, Zion. That because remember that the word Tzion means a sign, a signpost, right? You put up a sign, um, put up a sign saying, "You want God? Enter here." Now, is the sign feeling anything, or is it just an indicator for something that's greater than itself? The sign it feels doesn't feel anything. All it feels is it's an indicator for something great. So that's what this means over here. The Torah that you're learning, the mitzvahs that you're doing, the prayer that you engage in, that you sense that you're nothing but an indicator for something great and beyond you. Right? You're just a sign for the heavens above. Pretty powerful. Now, where we're going to go with this is what happens if you're not living like that? In other words, that's like the righteous who live that way. What if you don't? So that's where our verse comes in. The verse is speaking about that Zion that has fallen, has failed in these three areas that we spoke about, in fulfillment in the manner that we spoke about, with the bittul, with the self-effacement. So then, you need to be redeemed, right? The soul itself needs to be redeemed, and the powers of the soul that are imprisoned, that are a captive, they need tzedakah. The soul itself needs, as we will see, Torah, and the powers of the soul need tzedakah, charity. But that will come. A reminder that today we have the Torah Vigil that will start at 9:30 with Chumash and Tanya, and then from 11 o'clock onwards till 6 o'clock will be straight, one rabbi after another, giving a teachings for the hour. And followed at 6 o'clock will be Rambam, and 6:30 will be Torah studies. So we're doing this, a Torah vigil for Israel. It's the 9 days. So for the 9 days alone, it's important that we increase in our Torah study. But the situation in Israel needs not only our prayers, but our Torah study. So we'll be doing that together, and everybody is please invited to come back. Spend the day with us, or as much as you can. All right. See you shortly.